Okay. To be respectful of everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. It looks like most people are in a breakout room. Good evening again. My name is Gretchen Flores. I am part of planning staff that has been working on and um, preparing the community area plans. You've joined the North, Middle, and Outer geography. And for today's format, we will have a just a short presentation and then we'll actually jump into the plans because this is really an opportunity for everyone to ask their questions and really drill down to the specifics of this geography. So if everyone is ready, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This presentation is also being recorded and will be available online um, after our webinar. So I'm going to share my screen. You should see the north, middle, and outer geography, and I'm going to run the presentation in just 1 second. Um, I just wanted to preface this by saying that I can't see everyone, so if you have a question, feel free to stop me and just come off of mute. We have a small enough group where that should not be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and you should be able to see the full presentation. So again, as I mentioned, this is the north, middle, and outer geography, and this is really an opportunity for the community to ask questions. I will just give an overview of where we have been in the project, and then we can open it up for questions. Jump into the specific plan, the specifics of the plan, and then open it up for questions. So the reason that we're here is that growth is coming, and the reason for developing the community area plans is that Charlotte has been continuously growing for decades and is projected to keep growing. In response to that projected growth, our city adopted the Charlotte Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan in 2021, and that really defines our 20-year vision for growth and how change should be happening in Charlotte. That plan essentially calls for future growth to benefit as many people as possible in the most equitable way as possible. While the comprehensive plan itself provides the overall broad vision for our community for growth and development, there are other levels of guidance that is needed to make our vision a reality. So this is our planning framework that was developed over the last several years. It starts with the overall comprehensive plan. Level two are strategic plans, and those are really citywide documents that provide more detail than the comprehensive plan on a particular topic. For example, the strategic mobility plan, which provides guidance on how to realize goal five in creating safe and equitable mobility choices. So that really speaks to the mobility goals and policies for the city. Level three plans are where we are today is the community area plans, and those provide more guidance for the appropriate land uses, building forms, and infrastructure needed throughout the planned geography. And then we finally get to level four, which are specific plans that focus on smaller geographies and provide more guidance for implementation on specific projects. So if you are familiar with corridor plans or station area plans, those are the types of plans that fall into a specific plan category. It's important to note that for levels 2 through 4, those all build upon the vision and the goals that are outlined in the comprehensive plan. So this is these build upon each other. So essentially, the purpose of community area plans is to create complete communities. And what that means is that they aim to create places that integrate housing, jobs, and daily goods and services in an accessible manner, all while mitigating environmental impacts. So the goal is to be able to live, work, and play and enjoy the environment and the in a way that's sustainable long term. So the important takeaway from this slide is that we have had this process. It's been ongoing for the last 2 years, and it really started in the winter of 2023, where we created essentially we identified the community's priorities for action. Phase two, we went out into the community and ensured that development supports the community's priorities. In phase three, we really looked at recommended projects and programs to support the community's vision. And then in phase four, we started to develop the plans along with an implementation strategy for all 14 geographies. And then where we are today is phase five, which is really review and adoption. It is the engagement that has been ongoing since we released the draft plans. The other important thing is that along the way we have been releasing information to the public, and that's all been available on our website, which I'll provide the link to at towards the end of the presentation. So in terms of the way that the community area plans were developed, they were developed using a systematic process, which means that they were developed in the same way and all have the same components and format within them. That being said, while the plans were developed systematically, each plan does include some specific or unique content for that geography, and as well as some common policy guidance that helps achieve the vision for that plan geography. These plans provide a common set of consideration for decision makers to ensure that we're consistent in evaluating options in line with the city's vision. So over time, these considerations will help ensure that growth is accommodated in a way that respects established neighborhoods and allows growth within our infrastructure capacity, creating vibrant and mixed-use centers for everyone. In terms of what the content of the actual plans are, this is just a summary, and I'll get into the specific chapters of the plan after the short presentation. But essentially, the plans have the following content. Every plan has an introduction section and a community area profile, and those are really demographics specific to the north, middle, and outer geography. Then the next chapter is the community needs and goals, and that's also specific to each geography in terms of where the most needs are with housing, jobs, goods and services, and then environmental justice. Creating complete communities and supporting the vision, those two sections have policies that help guide growth and also have an assessment in terms of where the needs are. The next section is an implementation section, which really talks about how the plans should be implemented, and then an appendix, which is additional information on how the plans were developed and then the methodology for the data that was used in the plans. Um, Specifically to supporting the vision, the one thing that I wanted to point it out here that might be really useful for residents is a neighborhood toolkit. And that really is included to catalog all of the programs that are currently available to residents to help address their needs. So the intent is that it is a resource to empower neighborhoods who want to take some action. A good example to share outlines existing programs and neighborhoods that can tap into amenitizing a common open space and creating a neighborhood park. So if there's a desire for a specific neighborhood to want to maybe have a neighborhood park, the neighborhood toolkit would point you to the resources available to help you do that. In terms of the appendix, it's in what's in the appendix in the appendix itself. There is information on access to housing opportunity, access to essential goods and services, open space and environmental justice. There's a mobility and accessibility assessment, a community character assessment, and then neighborhood leadership and capacity building. That's all part of the appendices. So after adoption, the plans can be implemented in a number of ways. They can be implemented by the city or by private sector um, developers. Plans may be implemented through private development, through public-private partnerships, capital investments, and rezonings. They are an important component of the planning framework, but they're not the only tool in the toolbox. And so um, there's still additional planning that needs to occur after once the community area plans are adopted, as I mentioned before, with the specific plans, and then they will be updated periodically. So in terms of next steps, today and tomorrow we have a set of webinars. July 18th, so at the end of this week, the comment period closes. July 15th, um, excuse me, July 25th, the comments and staff responses are posted on the website. August 4th, there is a transportation planning and development committee presentation, so that's available on our YouTube page. And then to be determined is when council would make a decision. And so, as I mentioned before, we're still accepting feedback both at this webinar, tomorrow's webinar, and then via our online tools. The draft plans are available on our website. We will continue our office hours that we've been having for the community to be able to speak directly to staff with any specific questions that they may have and may not have gotten answered either through a webinar or any other engagement efforts. Those are being held Tuesdays 11 to 1 and then Thursdays 3 to 5, and I can provide the link on where to find that as well. Everything is also on our webpage. We have hard copies of the plans at the libraries. We had a public hearing on May 12th, and then we had subsequent virtual webinars May 15th, and then the webinars today and tomorrow. And with that, I am going to pause here and see if there's any questions. And if there aren't any questions, I can jump to the specifics of the plan itself, and we can just walk through that if people are interested in that. So I'm gonna pause there and see if anyone has any questions before I can jump to the plan itself. So we have a small enough group where you can just unmute if you do have questions.
Are most of the property just rental property, or do you have property that people can actually own and purchase?
Yeah, so the that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. There is within the map of the geography, there is a mixture of both rental and for sale property. Um,
Is it more rental than for sale? And I know that some of the rental properties on Gibbon Road are very high, like $2,000, $3,000 for the 3 bedrooms or what have you. Is so um,
Yeah. So that breakdown, I don't know if we have that as part of the plan demographics, but it might be something that I may be able to follow up on afterwards. I know that in terms of a breakdown of rental versus ownership, um, that wasn't necessarily part of the methodology um, for developing the plans, but it might be something that's available through Polaris.
yeah, I think that needs to be looked into because a lot of the properties nowadays people can't own them. They can only rent them. And my understanding is that we were trying to turn Charlotte into like a little New York where people mainly rent and not own. And I like my area to people take care of their property better if they tend to own them. Yeah.
Understood.
And are you all going to put sidewalks up and down Gibbon Road? Because you know there are pockets where there are no sidewalks for people to walk,
Mm-hmm.
and so up and
Yeah.
down on both sides.
So the answer to that is two-part. There are several different ways where sidewalk gaps get filled or infrastructure gets built. One is through private development. And that could happen if there's a development or redevelopment project that they would then be responsible for a specific either infrastructure component or transportation component. The other way that that could happen is through the city's investment. I know that North, Middle, and Outer, I believe there is um, a strategic investment. believe this is part of there's a strategic investment area in this geography. I'm just thumbing through um, the plan itself to see if I can find that. You said Gibbons Road. Let's see. Here, I'll share my screen so that you can take a look at what I'm looking at. This is essentially, you should be able to see my screen. Uh, So this is essentially when I was speaking about the assessment for the geography, this is basically what I was speaking about. This is the mobility assessment. And what this looks at is within the boundaries of the geography, where are the specific centers, and then what are the projects that may be that may benefit from some additional um, investment. And so the way that you would read this table is the aspiration is for everything to be aligned in terms of pedestrian network, the bike network, crossings, parking, and transit access. Where where you see the circle fully filled in and checked off, that means that the mobility infrastructure is in place and that it is aligned. Where the circles are not filled
Now, when you
in,
said the mobility structure is in place and aligned, what are you specifically talking about? What do you
yeah.
mean?
So mobility speaks about the different ways that people can get around. So it's not just it's not just cars. It's also these aspirational elements. So it's also pedestrian network, which talks about your the sidewalks that you had asked about, the bike network, which is also an alternative way to getting around other than a car or transit, your pedestrian crossings, which talks about safety, when you're looking at pedestrian amenities, how long the blocks are and whether or not the streets are connecting, parking, which is another element, um, internal connections, so how well are things connected within the those activity centers, and then access to transit and whether or not that exists. So those are the kinds of things that I am talking about when, or the mobility assessment is looking at when we're assessing whether or not something is aligned. As you can see, for the majority of this area, there are gaps in the mobility amenities, and so that signals to us that there's a good opportunity for more improvements to be made. You asked about Gibbons Road specifically, and I was looking through the assessment to see if it was mentioned in the assessment itself. And I don't see it in the assessment, but I know that there is a strategic investment area in this geography. And if you just bear with me, let me just thumb through where that is to see if there's any projects that are listed in there as well. Um, just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so it looks like there might be three um, three strategic investment areas that touch this geography: West Sugar Creek, University City, and then North Lake. Um, so those are three areas that this plan would be looking to make some improvements or to add to the improvements that are identified.
So not Gibbon specifically, just West Sugar Creek, North Lake, and University area, but not specifically Gibbon Road, or does
Correct.
that encompass Gibbon Road?
It does.
Sorry, Gretchen,
Yes.
can I just interrupt for a
Sure.
minute? This is Teresa MacDonald. There is a section in this plan that actually deals with Nevin and Gibbon as a focus area,
Mm-hmm.
and there's more information in those pages. I don't know exactly where it is in here,
It might
but
be.
certainly sidewalk gaps on Nevin and Gibbon are
Mm-hmm.
listed as, top priority projects over there. I don't know where they
Yeah.
stand in terms of funding and action, but they are there.
Yeah.
And are they
So
talking about the whole road or just pockets of the road to put sidewalks and things like that.
So a couple
I'd say
things.
the goal is the whole road, but yeah, I'll let Gretchen
Yeah.
find that.
So in terms of funding, you're right that this talks about opportunities for programs and not necessarily ties it to funding. Although this would help with making the case for any funding that may be needed for specific projects. If it's in a plan, it's easier to then make the case for funding. And if you just bear with me, let me find the section of the plan where that project comes up. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second so that I don't make you guys dizzy as I'm searching for it.
And Gretchen, just to add to the
Yes.
previous lady's comments, I will say that the whole Derrida area for us, it's in vast need of improvement of its road network. It's relying upon small two-lane roads that have been needed upgraded for years. And we fall further and further behind all the time. And there seems to be a reliance of the city on developers, improving roads in a piecemeal fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And we need, like she's talking about before, all of Given Road needs to be upgraded and improved so that what you're talking about there, so that sidewalks and bike lanes and things like that can be added to it with safety because people continue to walk down that road or ride bikes. I saw one just the other day riding down the road, and I swear to God, I thought he's going to be killed. And because that area has no width at all to it, because of the two, and that's not the only two-lane road in the area. Plus, you add to the fact that they're also talking about putting in one of the the rail stations in that area, and it just gets worse and worse as you
Mm-hmm.
start talking about it.
And with
So
all the
unless they
different
really start
houses
to
being developed, yeah.
invest in that whole network in that area, you're going to fall further and further behind.
Sure. And thank you for both of those comments. To your point, the with development happening, with redevelopment happening in a piecemeal way, these plans would really give us an opportunity to say, okay, if redevelopment is happening in this area, are there any projects that we know that need that should be coupled with whatever redevelopment is happening and then leveraged to make sure that the infrastructure is being put in a way that isn't piecemeal. And I do see a project for Derrida and West Sugar Creek that is on here as well.
Yep, and with all the townhouses that's going up in
Hmm.
apartments, I'm looking at lights, red lights in certain communities so we can get out
Sure.
with all the development that's happening.
Yeah. So in terms of with regard to that specific comment, that would be forwarded to our partners at CDOT, which is the city's transportation department, and they would then look at the specific intersections that you are speaking about and assess then at what point would it be appropriate to then fund those types of projects.
But Gretchen, be mindful that I believe Sugar Creek Road is maintained by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And
Yes,
so that adds another complication.
it does. You're absolutely right. And they have been a partner with us in this process as well. So we do have a good working relationship with them. Let's see. Samantha, I see you're unmute. Did you have a question? Okay. I think that were there any other questions that anyone wanted to ask or specifics about the plans that you would like to look at? We can go through the plan sort of section by section so that you know what's there and how it's helpful to you.
Does the plan include anything in terms of like cleanup of the roads and grass cutting of the roads, or this doesn't even touch any of that kind of stuff.
No, so that's generally that's an operations component, and that's typically handled. It depends who owns the road. So typically, if it's a CDOT owned road, that would fall to the city
I'm
in our
getting those. Yeah,
general
get it.
services department, and if it's state, it would fall to the state basically.
So this has nothing to do with that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So these plans are more policy guidance in terms of how growth should happen and where, and provide a little bit more detail building on the comprehensive plan. That's a great question, though. Thank you for asking it.
Mm.
I'm happy to go through the sort of the sections that might be more interesting for everyone. If if you don't have any specific questions, I'm happy to just walk through the plan itself.
In the new development, how many houses and townhouses are you all planning on having on Gibbon? How many more houses and townhouses in that new development that's being developed?
That is, I would probably, that's not part of this plan, but it's information that's out there. So, Terry, why don't I take down your contact and then follow up with you directly on that? Because that's
Okay,
information that
well,
I would have to pull separately. Does that
okay, you
work
want
for
my
you?
email or phone number or
Uh,
both?
so I have your email from the registration.
Okay,
And you want to know Gibbons Road specifically, the development, what the like how many houses?
and townhouses, how many more, yeah, people?
Okay.
980-253-8814.
Um, the other thing that we are doing is with the feedback that we get today, we will take down all of the questions and then post the responses to that online. So Terry, even if I follow up with you directly on this question, because I'll need to look up the information, as part of our transparency and our commitment to continuing to do that, we will post all of the comments with our responses online. And
Okay,
I can send a link to that so that um, you can jot it down and then make sure that you're following once the comments are released. So our comments will be released July 25th, I think is what we've committed to. The comments that are on our website so far are only up until the last webinar that we have. I believe it was May 15th, if I'm not mistaken. But give me one second. So oh, I'm going to drop in the chat our website so that everyone can is able to just follow along all of the comment responses. Any other questions about the plans?
just one last question.
Yes.
I just happened to see this link today, and to make sure I'm asking the right questions for
Mm-hmm.
the right type of meeting, I'm staying in line. We're just looking at the future development plans for this area, or just to make sure I'm in line with.
Yeah, no, and it's a great question. It's a great question. So if you remember in my earlier I'm going to go back to this slide. I'm going to share this slide again just to because it helps frame the conversation around what the planning framework is. So give me one second. Let me go back to the slide. Okay, so if you remember this planning framework slide, this it really started with the comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2021, and that's the sort of broad citywide vision for how the city should grow and develop. From that, if you've been following along, we then developed the Unified Development Ordinance in 2022, I believe. It was adopted in 22 and then effective in June 1st of 23. And so a lot of, Terry, what it sounds like your questions are probably very specific to how things are developed. So like the rules and regulations around how things are developed. That would fall more under the Unified Development Ordinance, which is like if you wanted to build a house on this lot, how many houses or, how far away from the lot line does it need to be? How many houses can you develop? That's what it sounds like, Terry, you are asking questions about. What this set of policy does is it basically is a little bit broader than the Unified Development Ordinance, and it's sort of the next step after the strategic action plans, in that it sets policy basically for where things could develop and how the city should be growing, not necessarily, lot specific in terms of like how many houses can you fit on this specific lot. It does tie into the Unified Development Ordinance though, because the UDO is the regulation document that is built from the comprehensive plan. So if you were to compare it, the comprehensive plan is the policy document, which says, you can put residential here and commercial there. And then your Unified Development Ordinance is really the regulatory document, which says if you put commercial here on this lot, this is what it should look like in terms of how big it could be, how many parking spaces it needs to have, etc. Terry, does that clarify things a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see more single family homes, if that's what you're asking, of how the area should be developing
Okay.
in the area as opposed to like apartments or even townhomes. I mean, townhomes are okay, but more single family homes but I know that's not the vision with a lot of developers. They want to get the most bang for the bucks out of the land.
Yeah. So to that point, and you should be able to see my screen. You should be able to see a map that says creating complete communities. Can you see that?
No, not yet.
Okay, hold on. Let me share my screen again then. Okay, you should be able to see a map now.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so Terry, what you're speaking about is the yellow. So to set the stage, this is a map of the boundaries of the geography. And what the colors on this map signify are the different types of uses that can be developed within the geography. The neighborhood one, which is what you're speaking about, is what accommodates the single family homes and some of the smaller scale residential developments. So think your duplexes and triplexes. Your neighborhood two, which is typically what accommodates the um, larger townhome developments and the apartments, is in the orange. And you can see that it's typically along the sort of busier corridors. Um, and it's in proximity to these dark blue sections, which are your activity centers, basically. So think about your mixed use areas where you can find your shopping, your entertainment, and things like that. The way that we have developed this map to accommodate the growth that is coming and still protect single family neighborhoods is that in planning where a lot of this growth should be happening is we are um, really focusing on the centers. So that's really where um, your higher intensity uses should be, as well as your commercial uses. And that's really intended to provide some mixture of uses so that you're able to do several things in one place without having to drive everywhere. Um, but Terry, to your point, a big portion of this geography does have the neighborhood one place type, which accommodates the single family residential development.
Which color on here um, is the
Represent.
single family homes?
It's
Which
the
color?
yellow, this light yellow,
Oh, the light.
the light yellow. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But those are really great questions, Terry. Thank you for asking them.
Okay. Welcome.
Yeah. Any other questions that the group might have? Let me just check the chat and see if there's anything that I'm not capturing. Okay. Um, if there are no other questions, I'd like to share some resources, and just a reminder of sort of the next steps. So let me reshare my screen again. Okay, so you should be able to see the next steps. Next steps are, oh,
You can't see the next steps.
yep, hang on one second. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Okay, can you see, you should be able to see next steps now.
I see plan, review, and feedback on my screen.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
got
got
it.
it.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry. All right. So next steps, we're having the two sets of webinars today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's webinars are 11 to 1. July 18th, so at the end of this week, the comment period closes. July 25th, we've committed to posting comments and staff responses on our website. Again, August 4th, there is a transportation planning and development committee presentation, and you can watch that on our YouTube page. And then council decision is to be determined at this time. I'd like to drop a couple of links in the chat so that you can so that you're able to get to our website and then be able to see the specific plan that we've been talking about, as well as follow along for any for the comments that are posted. So I'm going to drop in the chat. This is the North Middle Outer Plan. And then the other link that I'd like to share with everyone is, bear with me. How to get in contact with us. So you can always go to our website and contact us through the links on the website, or you can just email us at this email that I'm going to drop in the chat.
And Gretchen, you mentioned that the comment portion closes on the 18th, but
Yes.
exactly where in these documents do we look for, or the websites do we look for the comment section itself?
Sure. Okay. Give me one second. Let me go to the website so that I can walk you through where you actually go. Okay. Share my screen. Okay, so if you click on the link that I sent in the chat and you scroll down sort of halfway, just scroll up so that you can see the beginning of it. So this is what it'll look like. If you scroll down about halfway where it says phase 5, there's a comment link on here, and you can okay, you should be able to see that screen. There's a comment link about halfway down the page where you can click on that, and then you'll be able to see the comments.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, which link, the Charlotte Future 240 or the Northern Middle and Outer
So
link? Or
yeah, so if you want to get just right into the main page, you can go to the CLT Future 2040. That'll take you to this page essentially, which is our main landing page.
Okay.
And then there you can scroll down. There's a number of other buttons that you can hit, but specifically to the comment section, you can find the comments sort of halfway through that page. The other link that I sent was to the community plans themselves. So if you go to that link, you can click on view the plans, and then that takes you to um, the plans themselves. So you would click on North, Middle, Outer, or I'm sorry, North, Middle, and Outer, and then that takes you to the plan. And you can scroll on here. You can read the plan. You can also leave comments on here if you'd like. If that's too cumbersome for you, all of the comments that you've made today will be documented, and then we will respond to those and post those on the comment section. The other way that you can reach us is either via email that I dropped in the link, or you can come to one of our office hours, which you can find that information in the website as well.
Mm.
We've had a lot of good questions today, so I really appreciate everyone. I appreciate your attention and your commitment and interest in this process. Any last questions that we haven't answered?
Mm. And the plan's already in motion, so they're going to be what they're going to be, right? Because they're already in motion.
No, they're in draft form right now. They haven't been adopted by council. That's why, if you remember that last bullet, council decision is to be determined. These are in draft form right now, so it's critical if you do have any input that we receive it. Now would be the time for us to receive your input.
Okay, and it'll be given much weight, our comments.
Yes, yeah, so I appreciate that question, and yes, so this process has taken the amount of time that it's taken because we have been really diligent about receiving all of the comments that we've that have been given to us. There have been about, I want to say, over 900 comments, and a good portion of those have been incorporated.
Okay, okay. And I see we only have like 11 participants on, and I know in my community there are at least 90 something people.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that people, because I know we used to have the derived meetings at the church on Sugar Creek and everything like that,
Yeah.
but to get this information out to like more people to make comments on, what's the,
What's the process? So
yeah.
we've had engagement for the last 2 years. And if you have a community meeting that you'd like to have some staff representation, we're happy to take that information. We also have the staff hours that we're happy to just sit with, whoever wants to receive the information or has questions. Um, we've had, so just to walk you through the process that we had back 2 years ago, we were going out into the community. So we were actually doing workshops at either, rec centers or churches or several locations throughout the community. That went on for about a year. We had a total of about uh, 42 to 50 workshops in 2023. And then in 2024, we had some additional engagement in the cardinal geographies. And now through the review and adoption process, we have been having a series of webinars and workshops as well to make sure that we get the word out to as many people as possible.
Um, okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Gretchen, before we close, I'd
Yes.
just like to say something just in general, I guess, and I
Yeah.
don't know how other folks here feel about it, but when I see these kind of plans, I mean, yes, it is great to get community involvement and to see what the needs are out there, but considering especially the fact that over 100 people move to the Charlotte area per day, I feel like the city is not moving fast enough in
Mm-hmm.
these areas because For me, I don't know how many of these things I'll actually see in the rest of my lifetime. And what we talked about before, some things are behind, like any of the needed infrastructure improvements in our
Mhm.
area specifically, and the fact that developers keep throwing things in much faster than the city moves.
Hmm.
So to me, they just seem to be in a constant catch-up phase all the time. And here it sounds like, well, we've got to wait for these things to be finally approved and then start doing implementation of any of it. So, we're constantly falling behind, it seems.
Yeah, I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
And Gretchen, I would add, because I was going to make a similar comment. Um, we constantly see development, and this plan you said has been you've been planning for 2 years, and this is the 2040 plan. I don't understand how we're constantly developing, but then we're planning for the future, how that all fits together.
Sure. Yeah, so to provide some context around the 2040 plan, so Charlotte had not had a comprehensive plan in since about 1975 or so. And so in response to how quickly growth is coming, we know that growth is coming. We know that it's not going to stop just because we don't plan for it. So part of the impetus for creating the comprehensive plan was because we knew that growth was coming, and that if we didn't at least try to plan for some of that growth and where that growth should go, it was going to come anyway, and that would have put us more at a disadvantage in terms of having to catch up, as you mentioned, for things like infrastructure and just growth planning overall. Um, that comprehensive plan didn't, it's a citywide plan, and it does not provide all of the answers for the specific geographies. And so from that, then we developed the community area plans to be able to look at more geography specific projects and programs that are needed. And when you look at the plan for this geography, and you look at the assessments that were done for mobility, open space, and community character, that's an attempt to um, catalog some of the gaps that exist and some of the opportunities for how the city can fill those gaps, and also how to then partner with private developers to be able to fill the gaps that are left. It's not a perfect, it doesn't provide all of the answers, and so additional planning will be needed, but it does start to provide the framework for how to layer on the different levels of plans. But yes,
Okay,
Patricia, to your point, they're not perfect plans.
okay. Thank you for your
Sure,
response.
sure. I see one other one. So Thomas, I will also add, since we are always playing catch up, by the time these plans are adopted, the situations on the ground can change vastly different from the city before it even gets started. Yes, point well taken, Thomas. Okay, we have about 4 minutes. Is there anything else that I can provide?
Well, thank you, Gretchen. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking an hour out of your evening to sit with us and just receive this information and ask questions and be involved. So we really appreciate that.
Well, thank you as well. I'm glad I saw the email at the last minute and that I was able to jump in at the last minute. So
Yes.
thank,
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
thanks.